Ladies and gentlemen, due to the late completion of this morning's plenary, we'll need just a few more minutes before this begins. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Ainsworth, Head of Communications for the United Nations Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity, and I'd like to welcome you to this short press event for the closing of the high-level segment. We are very welcome to have with us the COP-15 President, Mr. Huang Rongqiu. We have Mr. Stephen Guilbeault, His Excellency, who is the Minister of Environment and Climate Change Canada, and we have Elizabeth Mruma, the Executive Secretary to the Convention. We'll have some brief remarks, first from the COP-15 President, then brief remarks from Minister Guilbeault and Executive Secretary Mrema, and then we'll have a time for very few questions, I regret to say, because everything is running very far behind. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to present to you the COP-15 President, Mr. Rongqiu.
好，各位媒体朋友，怎么样？你们
Ladies and gentlemen, for the past few days, have you been exhausted? I feel quite exhausted because these meetings has been going on and on like a marathon. So basically, we're going to see the finishing line soon. So in the past 2 days, so far, I want to share my idea with you because now it's the press conference. So basically, it's kind of like segmental. So far, I want to give you some update regarding what we've been doing in terms of high-level committee. So it's during the 15th until 17th. So basically 3 days. So we just finished the meeting this morning. So we have basically we have the open closing ceremony this morning. So we have 140 countries and over 60 organizations around the world together, and over 1,000 people attending this meeting. And so in terms of speakers, basically, most of them are from other parties and other international organizations. All of them are also, they all have their voices in this meeting. So President Xi also attended the meeting remotely and also supported this meeting. And also, he also basically announced he supported a lot of our policies we have, and he urged everyone basically to make the effort together in terms of protecting and restoring the biodiversity, and we should put our ambition into practice by supporting other countries in terms of protecting and restoring the biodiversity again, and also help them to through all the difficulties by developing green development and also other policies that everyone drafted together, and further to bring all the welfare to the human beings in general. And by doing so, we can have the back support for everyone. So based on his speech, we have to form mutual coexistence between human being and ecology. So I think the policies he just mentioned before, that China has been putting a lot of effort in terms of promoting biodiversity, which also show our perseverance and our really, really strong support during the meetings through all the promises from the other ministers from other countries. In terms of protecting biodiversity, we can see that all the ministers have think in consensus that we are now at the last stage of protecting biodiversity. We are at a crossroad at the moment, so we have to make some decision. So we are basically catching up all the time with the effort we can put in terms of updating our policy based on all the scientific evidence. Otherwise, we have to take our consequences that are made by us. In terms of, we have to use our resources, including finance, including our technology. By doing so, we can then establish a comprehensive mechanism among human beings in order to take the protection of biodiversity into practice and achieve our goal by 2030. And in order to promote this framework, during our high-level meetings, I invited the 6 ministers into the meeting, and 3 of them are from the work groups, and one of them. So basically, every single minister are from different countries. Some of them are from developed countries. Some of them from developed countries. So by doing so, it was quite fair for them to discuss all the policies in terms of resource allocation and DFA and other policies. So through what I can see, all of them did make a lot of effort, and by doing so, they also give me a lot of support in return. And I want everyone here. I have to be honest with you. So during all these consensus of the meetings we had, I would like to urge you, especially my team, and including the secretary and also the presidents and from all the groups and all the 6 ministers I mentioned before. I want to say, based on their consensus, I hope everyone to basically to give us some like a consensus basic article which everyone can accept it. So ladies and gentlemen from the press, and so far we have already successfully made our first step to our success. So here I want to thank all the minister that has been making effort in this. So China as a country, we are going to keep making our offer in this goal, and finally we can all achieve the goal that someone expected, the 2020 biodiversity framework. Thank you.
His Excellency Stephen Guilbeault, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change of Canada, to address the room. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Bonjour, bienvenue. Merci d'être ici aujourd'hui. Nous y sommes. Le temps est...
Thank you. Welcome. Lovely to be with you. This is the time to make a decision now, the time for collaboration, compromise, and consensus. Otherwise, we will still disagree, we will still postpone our decision, and we will imperil what should really be prevalent over everything else, because this is precisely the aim of that biodiversity conference, COP-15, to protect nature and also to protect humanity. What cause could gather more consensus than protecting life on Earth? Our current ways of life have a massive impact on nature, whilst we have some massive extension of species and habitats at an alarming rate throughout the world. It is time now to treat nature with the respect that it deserves and to tackle the serious problems that threaten natural habitats.
And Canada is here to help make that happen, to bring nations together to support an ambitious outcome. We are calling on those who want ambition to understand that ambition is tied to resource mobilization. We are asking that countries wanting resource mobilized understand that we can only get there with ambition. As the co-lead on the Global Biodiversity Framework ministerial consultations this week with Egypt COP27 Yasmin Fouad, I'm there on the ground asking parties for collaboration, compromise, and consensus. And I'm doing so with the confidence that consensus is possible. We can come together on the key remaining issues before us. We did it in Paris. We can do it here in Montreal. The entire world is watching as we work to finalize an ambitious global biodiversity framework. We have the power to change the course of history for the better, to act with the urgency that is needed, to raise the bar for nature at least as high as we're doing it for climate change. And the world knows it. Let's give nature the Paris moment it deserves. Thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you very much, Minister. And our final speaker for the conference will be the Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity, Elizabeth Maruma Mrema. Elizabeth, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. It's indeed a pleasure to be here with our co-presidents and our host here in Canada in this conference call. I also want to reiterate my sincere thanks to all the ministers and participants who have contributed to our work and the discussions that are bringing us closer and closer to delivering that ambitious post-2020 global biodiversity framework the world is waiting out there. To you members of the press, over the last 2 days, you have heard strong messages from President Xi Jinping, Premier of New, and a number of ministers, vice ministers, ambassadors, heads of delegation, and an array of organizations. And no doubt you have seen that while progress has been made, there's still more work to be done. In the past 2 days, or in 2 days' time rather, this UN Biodiversity Conference need to present and must present to the world what they have been asking for: strong, definitive action on biodiversity in the form of global biodiversity framework. And as I said at the closing session this morning, we are no longer approaching a point of no return. We have actually arrived. Actions needs to be bold, and they need to happen now. The outcomes of COP-15 are our best chance to halt and reverse the loss of biodiversity and ensure a healthy, sustainable future for the people and planet. I'm personally encouraged by the progress, by the negotiations, by the commitments made so far, including resource mobilization. But negotiating teams still have work to do. They need to turn the promises made into plans, ambitions, and actions. And all this thanks to the leadership of our president, leadership of our host, that we've reached a point now. Let us roll up our sleeves and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary. So I'm going to turn to a few questions, and my apologies to the people in the room. I did have a question submitted online from the Associated Press that I'm going to begin with. The question is to the COP-15 president. The question from Associated Press is around the pace of negotiations. What would China like to see come out of the financing in the framework and the proposal to protect terrestrial and marine environments? That's from the Associated Press to the COP-15 president.
So far, China, as the hosting country, as the presidency, in terms of our negotiation, we have gathered from the support from the secretary and also from the hosting country, Canada, also for a lot of tremendous support. So all of this support for us as a presidency is such a push and such help for us. Once again, I want to show my sincere gratitude to both, to the lady and gentleman sitting next to me. They have been really helpful, and they also come up with a lot of ideas to me. In terms of the negotiation, in terms of achieving the framework. So as I mentioned before, so far, myself on my behalf of my team, we already have the roadmap. So far I can tell you, this roadmap of the negotiation, we are still in progress, and everything is in the right direction in terms of following the roadmap. So far we are at the third stage of high meeting negotiation. So it's not because we are busy or our personal stuff that have affects the roadmap at all. So as I mentioned before, in terms of following the roadmap, on one hand, we are following the roadmap, and on the other hand, if we find other new topics or other updates, we will always keep adjusting our roadmap by even enhancing it. So far, we have two updates I want to share with you. So the first one is that on the 14th in the afternoon, we had a meeting from all the representatives. So in this meeting, basically this meeting wasn't originally in my roadmap, but because of the need, we come up with this side meeting, so where we ask all the parties to bring up their difficulty and the challenge they are facing at the moment to be honest with us, So by doing so, we can even focus more on this topic that they would like us to have helpful. And of course, throughout this meeting, in terms of every aspect, they have opportunity to basically to make their voice heard. And also, of course, they have some even complaints. They can all share in this meeting honestly with us. So in this way, it somehow help us to understand each other even deeper. And we can also basically cross out all the misunderstanding among us. So once again, by doing this unexpected meeting, we have gained a lot of support in terms of our negotiation. And we also, as I mentioned before, we also have resolved some misunderstanding with us. And by doing so, we can keep working on our negotiation. The other one I want to bring up with you is that in terms of the difficulty we mentioned before, we use kind of a dual, basically the dual methodology. So one line was for the work group and for negotiation. The other line I want to share with you here is that in terms of the more three challenging points, we also deploy different ministers to join these three topics in terms of resolving it. So in these three difficulty issues, so basically, in order to show our gratitude here, I want to basically read out their names to you. So there are two ministers from each group, from developing country and developed countries. So from Germany, so for example, they have helped us quite a lot. Like a minister from Chile and the minister from Norway, and they are in charge of DSI problem. The other one is from Egypt. And also the gentleman next to me, they are in charge of the issue in terms of some tangible problem within the framework. So all of them are quite experienced in the group they are in charge of. Under the whole umbrella of biodiversity, they are all experts. So judging from the past few days, the workforce, I can see they are great leadership as well. So with their leadership, we have achieved a lot of consensus. So myself, during the past 3 days, I've been doing a lot of effort in terms of basically negotiating with different parties and different organizations by sharing our ideas and by crossing out all the misunderstanding in order to achieve our common goal. So in summary, with all the effort from different aspects, I can tell you here, so far, especially through the meeting I mentioned before, through all the effort among the three groups, we have achieved a great success so far. So once again, I am greatly confident that we can also keep our ambitions as well as achieving our consensus. So we are not far from our final goal. So far, I want to show my gratitude once again. And I can tell you here, ladies and gentlemen, the door of my office is always welcoming. So I'm welcome all the representatives from all the parties to come into my office to talk to me. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Jacket.
Thank you very much. I would like to raise my question in Chinese to President Huang. 黄主席，我有一个问题，我是来自中国澎湃新闻的记者。
I'm from one of the news agencies from China in this meeting, and of course, this meeting has attracted a lot of attention from different parties and a lot of sides. And of course, we have seen different kind of disagreement from different parties. So of course, now we still only have 2 days left. So do you think we can finally achieve our goal by agreeing to our consensus as expected? Thank you.
感谢您的提问。 就是你这个
Once again, thank you for your question. But the question you ask is quite critical because we only have 2 days left. So can we achieve the consensus among the framework? I have 2 reasons here for give you. So the first one, through all the information gathered from all the parties so far, I think all of them want to achieve the goal of the framework. They don't want to just go home without nothing. So they want to put everything in their pocket and have it happily ever after Christmas. So this is the first. This is the expectation every single party actually has. The second one, as I mentioned before, so far, in terms of the progress of negotiation, basically, I think the difficult part has been reduced. So we have less and less difficulty. So now we can focus on less. So once we make the breakthrough, we can definitely achieve the framework. So I think the question you asked me regarding achieving the goal within time frame, I would say I'm quite optimistic. I think to some extent I'm quite confident. I'm sure in terms of the progress we have now, I'm quite confident that we can finish this meeting with our goal achieved. Thank you very much.
Let's see, I can take, I think, one question, but I'd like to take a question directed to either the Environment Minister of Climate Change Canada or the Executive Secretary. Then they've got to go. So, Natasha, but only if your question's to Environment, Climate Change Canada or Elizabeth. That's because we've got to balance that out.
Hi, thank you very much. Natasha Gilbert from Nature News. There has been some progress, but there's still a long way to go. Was it a mistake not to invite the heads of state to the meeting in order to get better progress? Thanks.
Thank you for the question. I would respectfully disagree with your characterization of the state of play. I would echo what COP-15 President Minister Wong just said. We've made tremendous progress. If you were in the stock take earlier, you heard from the co-chairs on DSI that they think we have a path forward. I don't know about how many of you thought we could get there here in Montreal. You've heard from the representative from Senegal speaking on behalf of the African group that they thought that on financial issues, progress had been made. You've heard my co-chair, Minister Fouad from Egypt, report that we've heard significant support for halting and reversing biodiversity loss. We've heard support across the board. We've met with every single regional groups. We've heard support across the board for conserving at least 30% of our lands and oceans by 2030. We've heard support across the board for restoration. I didn't think that all of these things would be possible. I was dreaming about them 6 months ago, but did I think that they were within reach? I wasn't sure, and thanks to the excellent work of our presidency, his team, and the great collaboration with the Secretariat, and obviously the collaboration of all parties, we're getting there. And I would like to take a moment to say thank you to the involvement of civil society organizations, of Indigenous organizations, everyone who's made this possible. We're not quite there yet, but we've made progress, and it's because that it was an all hands on deck approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to bring this to a close. Our ministers and Elizabeth are behind schedule. They've got bilaterals coming up. So with strong apologies on behalf of everyone here, we'll bring this to a close. Thank you to His Excellencies for coming here, and thank you to Elizabeth. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay.